Episode 11.
Woo!
Yay.
That's like a lucky number for a lot of people. Or like an angel number
Mhm.
almost. Well, I know
11,
angel number is
11.
111, but yeah, 11.
Yeah, 11 feels cool.
Hmm.
Very excited. Today, we're talking about classical equipment terminology, not in a super, super in-depth way, more layman's terms for people who might be listening who don't know much about Pilates, or maybe you do Pilates, but it's not classical, or maybe you do. I feel like people come into Pi for reformer and they'll look over and be like, what's that? Out
Yeah.
of series of other things. So we just wanted to go over some of the terms, a
The
requested
new
topic
setup at
from
Pi
Leila's
as
mom.
well is even more, things are even more so on display for people now, I feel. Like everyone is even more confused. So I'm excited for when you come back and you're able to see it in person
How
and just
is the new
experience.
setup?
I had my first sort of like issue with it, or my only problem I had, which was so our reformers, because we've also gained a new reformer, four of them are where they used to be, like in line with the studio.
Yeah.
And two have moved to where the high chair used to be, like sort of between the studio and then where the like wall used to be.
Okay.
So you know how
Yeah.
there was like the high chair, baby chair little area?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's two reformers there. And I had my first sort of problem with one of those reformers where I had to move from the side of the four to the side of two because Keelan had a class and I was like teaching a private. And I wanted to do side splits, and my client stood on the reformer and her head hit the roof. So she could not stand.
Ah,
Um, so she
interesting.
also then couldn't do front splits because, or like she could do the first
Wow.
layer of front split, but then she couldn't come
Yeah.
up because
Can stand
she
up.
would hit. She's also not the tallest client. She's my height.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
would be curious. I was going to ask someone when I go in tomorrow. I wanted to see if anyone else had that issue, and or just raise it or flag it because it is if you have a full class and you want to teach something, that's not the most convenient. Um,
And those aren't like crazy exercises. Like those are
no,
pretty
those are you
normal.
would consider sort of like an intermediate level
Mm, yeah,
exercise.
that's good to know.
But yeah, the sort of we wanted to talk you all through some of the main equipment that is in
Yeah,
use.
I didn't
We
actually
can
write
do
down a list, but I could start to
I
write
have
one as we go so you can see what we.
I have one. I pulled up a website that but it has the main ones. It also has a couple of lesser known ones. Um
And there's, to be clear on it too, there's definitely historical context and rationale behind these things, which would be a different episode. We plan to have an episode which is sort of really talking about the history of classical Pilates and how it evolved from
mhm.
its origins. And that is not this episode. So I know
No.
that you know, there's history behind all of the things, but we're just going to define them for someone who was walking into a studio and just wanted to know for the purposes of your average client.
Yes. We want to say we're also not, oh, okay.
Historical experts.
Yes, and we are not going to dive into archival equipment. We're going to focus
Yeah.
in on classical equipment that is used currently in the modern day. Not in the modern day, but archival equipment goes into a bit more of, like you were saying, that sort of classical, not classical, because it's all classical, but is a bit more
Historical.
historic. Yeah, so that would be its own um,
And that stuff will
in depth.
probably come up more in oral histories because it
Ooh,
came up in our first episode with
crossover.
Matt. Yeah.
Shout out oral
So
histories. Yeah.
if you want, and that's kind of the purpose, right? Like oral histories is more of a historically based, that's sort of in alignment with the thinking behind oral histories. is to have the
Hmm.
more of a connection to that where everything came from. Sticky notes is obviously still about Pilates and our lives as Pilates teachers, so we do feel a need to explain some of the things. I also think it's
Yeah.
great if you're someone who listens to this and you do reformer Pilates all the time because that's the thing that shows up on Instagram, which fair enough, the reformer is awesome. There's so many other things and tools that you can try to get involved with.
Hmm. And maybe you're a significant other of someone who does a lot of Pilates or a family member, and you're like, what on earth is all this equipment they're talking about? Here you go. You can send this video or episode to your friends and family and show them what you get up to. I'm hoping,
Yeah.
fingers crossed, I'm going to try to, in the video episode, insert photos of the equipment so that you can visualize it.
Ooh, that is fancy stuff, Leila.
If the episode just never comes out, then
I
it's a
love
different
that.
conversation. But I'm gonna try. I think it would be cool to have photos
Yeah, that's a great
alongside.
idea. And when we post the on Instagram, we can post maybe a photo of each of the
Yeah,
things that we do.
I meant to say I keep forgetting to do the dumps as well on Instagram. I'm gonna try to
I've
get.
started doing them on my personal Instagram once a week. I don't know if you've
I saw you
seen.
do that. Yeah.
And I'm trying to be consistent about that in part to, yeah, like get people viewing. Like it sounds so silly, but then I can start to advertise. Like I want to
Hmm.
rope sticky notes into that and Honeycomb Studios into that eventually. But yeah, I'm
Yeah. Do you
starting
know what I
the
meant to
process.
tell you that I forgot to do? But then I was like, you when you posted the Spotify link, it was on your account, and I wanted to tell you to put it on the sticky notes one as well. But then I was gonna just
I thought you
share it on
did.
sticky
Is that why you
because I
did
put
it?
no, I put because I put the Apple one, but I don't have access. I never put the Spotify
Oh,
one.
oh, okay. I will
I
put,
meant to tell you.
I'll just put it up
Yeah,
like later. Be like, forgot, sorry.
you can
Here's
just put it
nine.
next. There's
Yeah.
no pressure because I was gonna reshare your story. That's all I was gonna do,
Okay.
um,
Yeah.
to make it easier.
That's a
But
good, I got it. Yeah. That's a good reminder. The Spotify versus the Apple.
yeah, so we can just do. I'll always do the Apple, and then if you do the Spotify,
Yeah.
makes it
That
easy.
sounds good.
Also, I love that you love whenever I put the picture of me with the with the eyes and the face. Yeah,
It
I
kills
was
me
like I'm
every
doing it for
time.
you at this point.
The first time I saw it, I just like loved it so much. I was hoping it wasn't a one-time thing. So to
No,
learn that
never.
it's sort of a constant in my life now, it's pretty good.
I'm glad that I can bring it that constant.
Brings me joy.
All
Okay.
right.
Should we dive into
Yeah.
the list?
Should we
And maybe,
do
I don't know if you have the list
reformer?
in front of you. Yeah, let's do
The
reformer
list is
first.
sort of a bit out of order, but I figure if we start reformer is the probably
Maybe
the best way because
start like with the bigger ones and go smaller.
I think also reformer is most people's introduction to
Yeah.
equipment. I guess
Hmm.
we could preface it with saying you can just have a mat, and there are sort of like raised mats and
Yeah.
mats that have um, the poles that come out of it, or like what? Oh
Hmm.
God, I should have checked the name of it. But what would you call that mat?
The
The one that,
handles, I don't
yeah,
know what. Yeah.
I'm going to scroll this website really quickly. God, maybe
She's
we're like the least.
describing you have like a plain mat, which is pretty, the ones that we have in Pi, we have a combination of just your
Mhm.
regular, like a mat that you might buy anywhere that rolls up and you can use that. And actually, some teachers and clients prefer those, myself included, because they are just a little more firm on the ground. So it
Mhm.
feels a bit easier to be connected to that space. But there's also these sturdy, I don't know how to describe it. They're always
So
roll
I
out.
just
You
it
can't roll them
yeah,
up.
so it was called there's one it's they do refer to it as the Pilates mat by Contrology. So if you search that in or type that in, it will what will come up is what Rose is describing now, which is that sort of like stiff it's
Yeah.
like almost a stiff wooden plank with a mat on it
Yep.
and handles.
With the handles, and the handles go by your head for the most part.
Hmm.
And mat Pilates is very much Pilates. If you're doing mat, you're doing Pilates. You don't need
Yes.
fancy stuff. So
No.
I think that could be a common misconception. But if you're doing the
Yeah.
mat, you're doing Pilates.
You could just
Yep.
lay on your floor and do the Pilates mat, and that would count as Pilates
Absolutely.
equipment. So,
That would
you know, we
count.
see a lot of
Yeah.
videos whenever, I love it whenever it's summertime, and Pilates instructors go on vacation. Everyone will always do the sort of like poolside mat Pilates, and
Yeah.
everyone comes out in
The
their little
towel.
bikinis and they do a, yeah, they do it on a towel. So, yeah,
So
you can
fun.
do
Do it anywhere.
Pilates anywhere you go, which
Do it
is
anywhere.
one of the best parts.
One of the best parts. But then reformer would probably be the most. That is like the Instagram thing, is the
Hmm.
reformer. And I don't
Yes.
quite know why reformer.
Yeah, I imagine it must just be because it's probably classes are easier on a reformer, and then I think it's a thing where you can make it quite a dynamic class. So it's easier for that contemporary world to build. And
Yeah.
as that has taken on a greater life, reformer classes do, and then reformer program teacher trainings exist. So then people all, it just has almost like fed into itself, maybe
Yeah.
that sort of hype around
And
reformer.
I feel like the reformer can, as far as social media goes, it's pretty easy to make it look cool.
Yeah.
Like if you're doing the tower, you can make it look cool, but most people aren't doing their first tower class and doing like airplane or something
No.
where they're like levitating. So I feel like
Yeah.
if you're doing even not even short spine, but like leg circles,
Yeah.
or there's just some things where if you're on the box, it just looks kind of crazy.
Fancy.
So,
I think
mhm.
also as Legree and other forms of like like beds reform, like bed style equipment have become more popular as
Yeah.
well. It all just feeds into itself. So because Legree is popular and people want to be doing that, and like solid core, which exists like in the States, it's like
Yeah.
people look for that type of workout. And then you get so many people asking to just do reformer. They don't even call it reformer Pilates. It is just the verb is now, or the noun even is just reformer. Um,
Yeah.
so that builds its popularity. So
Yeah.
our reformer machines or classical reformer machines will either be made sort of out of a metal frame or a wooden frame. And then the biggest difference between our machines and others are classicals have four springs, all weighted evenly. And then
Mhm.
you'll have a leather strap, but most importantly, that strap or the back of the strap does not come up on a riser, so it comes down from the back of the machine or the back of the frame, which
Yeah.
is key as to the way the angle changes in the body. Um,
Yeah.
but it is
So a
almost like we were saying,
reformer
it's
has,
a bed
yeah, it's a
with
bed. So
springs.
you're lying down to start with, and that bed moves with the, it moves along the frame. So the frame is still,
Hmm.
the bed moves. There's series
Or the
of
carriage, I
different
guess, if you want to call, some people will
carriage,
call
yeah,
it the
the
carriage.
carriage. And it has other straps behind it that you can put your it has handles that you put your hands into. It has straps that you can put your feet into. It has a foot bar, which is sometimes used, sometimes not.
Hmm.
Um, but it is, yeah, I would say my dogs are gonna start barking for like 10 minutes.
Oh, they're not
Is it
happy, or
too
they're
loud
very
for
happy.
you to hear me? They're
That's
very
fine.
excited because everyone's coming home. Um, but it is a bed. That is like the way that it, I think, is most simply described. If you were to see a bunch of different equipment, the one where someone's laying down to start is a reformer.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Sorry, the dogs are
Dogs
fine.
are
I'm wondering if we're gonna be,
protecting.
yeah, I'm wondering if we're gonna be able to. Hopefully, we can like edit it out or mute them because when they're, it's fine. It's just that when you speak, it is also will cut into you speaking.
I put
So,
on my, um, I don't know. Let's see. Worst case, we can just cut that piece out
yeah,
because,
now they seem to have quietened a little.
I, yeah, I think
Phew.
they should be okay. They should be fine now.
Um,
Yeah, that's reformer. It's pretty
mhm.
simple. I feel like it gets made out to be a very complicated thing, but it's pretty simple.
Yeah, it is. It's also quite nice because you can just bring someone and they just lay down and it feels less scary, I guess. The main
Yeah.
difference, I guess we won't, so I don't think we have to say this when we talk about every piece of equipment, but what you'll see with a lot of more contemporary reformer machines, in case you're wondering, am I on a classical machine or a contemporary machine? If your springs are colored or if your straps are made of like a different fabric or like a rubber, or if at the back of your strap there's a riser or like a little, yeah, a riser at the end of the machine, then you're not on a classical um, reformer. Those are the main
Yeah.
things I would say to look out
Yeah.
for if you're wondering.
Definitely the colored thing for sure, because in places that aren't classical, there will be a lot of one red, one blue,
Hmm.
whatever. Whereas in classical,
Yep.
it's just one spring, two spring, three,
Yeah.
four. Yeah.
Call it.
Yeah.
Should we do
Okay.
Cadillac next?
Cadillac. Yeah.
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 Do you know why it's called the Cadillac? I know the
I don't. Do you know?
Oh, I know the anecdotal story that we were told in our teacher training, and I will fact check
Let's
it before this
hear.
episode goes live. But
Let's hear
basically,
it.
so the Cadillac, which we'll go on to explain, is sort of the biggest piece of equipment. It's like a table with, you know, uh, poles that
It kind
extend
of
up.
looks like, you know what it kind of looks like? If we just said the reformer is the bed, but a tower kind of, or a Cadillac kind of looks like a four-poster one person bed.
Yes, yes,
It's got
exactly that.
holes on
With
every
all
corner.
hmm And basically, it has a lot of extra things that can be done on it. And it was seen as, that the most magical, or everyone wants to get on the Cadillac, basically. It's like the A star first class piece of equipment. And so someone went into the studio once, or a client of Joe's, and said, asked about what it was, and Joe was explaining, and he said, "Oh, so it's your Cadillac," referring to it as the car brand, or like in reference to the car brand Cadillac,
Um,
because at the time Cadillac was like the top of the line car brand in the States, which is it's still obviously a big car brand there,
right.
but it was like the it car brand, like the it girl car brand, and so the Cadillac to them was like the it girl piece of apparatus. So then it got called the Cadillac after the
That
car
is so
brand.
interesting. If that's true, I love that. I hope that that's the
If you
story.
want to start explaining it slightly, go ahead, and I'm going to just quickly double check where the name came from, because that is what we were told in our teacher training. If I've been sold a lie, I'll be very sad, because it is such, and because I say this to all my clients, so may have been spreading a rumor about the Cadillac.
No,
Um,
that is so interesting. And it makes me wonder why the reformer is called the reformer. Like
Maybe
I
we'll
just
figure
want to
it
know
out
the
through
origins
oral histories.
of every single one.
Mm.
Um, I also, now that I'm thinking about it, a Cadillac, a Cadillac versus a tower is in many ways a part of the Cadillac. Is that accurate to say, or is it
Yeah,
that
so the
one
Cadillac is
half of
just
the Cadillac is the tower?
it's basically everything on the Cadillac taken onto one side. So the Cadillac,
Yeah,
because it is
yeah,
almost like a four-poster bed where the poles go up and then join, you have the ability to hang from the top of the frame. With the
yeah,
tower, it is um like rooted to a wall. So you have the wall and then a mat below it. Um,
yeah,
and so it is the tower is the Cadillac, just a bit more space efficient. And I will
yeah.
say also, the story is true. Um, the apparatus was
That
considered
is
the
amazing.
finest, most luxurious, versatile piece of equipment, like the Cadillac car. Um, so some people say, like, oh, sources would suggest a specific student remarked, "Hey Joe, is that your new Cadillac?" Like asking, "Oh, is that your new car?" when referring to it. So
That's amazing.
yeah.
And the Cadillac, I mean, I guess we can go through all the different pieces of it, but that, as Layla said, it has the parts of the tower sort of split up. I've only ever like used pies, so I don't know if it's different in other places, but one end has the push through bar
Hmm.
and the other end has, or I guess pies has the push through bar and the Is it the leg
Arm
springs on
springs.
that side or the arm springs? And then leg springs and the rollback bar on the other side?
Hmm. And
Yeah.
then the trapeze, which can be
Yeah.
moved. So the trapeze
Yeah.
is what is unique to the Cadillac because the trapeze is obviously connected to the top. And that is what
Yeah, so
allows you to hang.
there's the four poles, and then those are also connected at the top by
Hmm.
a rectangle, and the trapeze goes across the long parallel
Yes.
poles.
I feel like I'm back in math class talking about all those parallel lines and trapezes. Uh,
And maybe the thing, like when you were talking about that story about the Cadillac, the thing to me about the Cadillac is you can do things like the full traditional ending on the
mhm,
Cadillac, which is I personally love the full traditional ending. Like I think it feels so nice in my body to just be opened up like that and do the
mhm,
hanging. Because the Cadillac also has the fluffies,
mhm.
and I maybe that's what I picture as the crazy, cool, amazing thing that you can do on the Cadillac.
Yeah, so I think a lot of the cool imagery, like the cool visuals, if you want to go back to it, that a lot of people see from the contemporary world, I think you see on the reformers, a lot of the cool visuals that I see from classical instructors tend to be on the Cadillac. Everyone loves to show off, as they should, all the sort of hanging
Yeah.
tricks that they can do and candlesticks, which is almost hanging yourself upside down, basically. So I think that is starting to become a little bit more popular in classical and contemporary alike. I'm seeing people jump on the Cadillac and do a lot of cool things with it. I'm seeing some wild things from contemporary stuff. I need to send you one. I saw someone doing like a pistol squat with their foot in the leg spring. They were like stood on the Cadillac with their hands on the push through bar and like were going into a pistol squat because they had their foot
Whoa.
in a leg spring and then they were coming back up.
Whoa.
It was just, yeah. So people are almost just like are playing around with it. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, so if you've ever seen like a bed with or like a flat surface, oh, that's the biggest thing I guess to say. So the Cadillac doesn't has no moving parts in the sense that it's a flat mat and then
Yeah.
the pole. And the mat is a God, I don't know if we're explaining this well. The mat is like above, it is like off the ground. It's
It's
lifted,
it's a
elevated.
risen, yeah, it's lifted, and that serves a great purpose in that if you want, you can also just use it as a mat. You can put barrels on it.
Hmm.
You can use it as a way as a teacher to be potentially a bit closer to like a first time client that you have, or maybe an elderly client who you are going to need to be adjusting and supporting a lot instead of being on a mat on the ground where you have to kind of get down to their level. So a
Yes.
lot of benefits to the Cadillac.
Hmm. I'm thinking I will aim to get photos on this because I think that to visualize will help our explanations sound a lot better. So, if you are
Yeah.
listening to this on audio and you're like, these girls have confused me, I understand. Please come over to YouTube, which is also a great time to plug our YouTube. We have a YouTube under the name, let me just check what our YouTube sticky notes dot podcast. Or if you just search sticky notes, I'm sure we will come up. Sticky Notes Podcast.
Yeah.
So come say hi to the YouTube and you can
Yeah.
observe these lovely pieces of apparatus and our lovely faces.
I think Cadillac might be the most complicated one. So hopefully the other ones are easier to
Yeah.
explain. Like tower, super simple. You have a mat laying horizontal, you have
Hmm.
two poles that are vertical. Attached to those poles, you have leg
A
springs,
spring.
arm springs, roll back bar, push through bar.
Yes.
Easy. It's all on one thing.
Hmm.
They're at designated heights, which that varies from studio to studio or not really a bit.
I mean,
There's
the
some
only
theme.
there's a only thing that really varies. Arm springs are almost always done on that lowest setting. If you want to
Yeah,
match your leg springs on the tower to be at the same level on the Cadillac, you would skip one and then go for the leg springs.
yeah,
However, at Equinox, we always had our leg springs directly above the arm springs. which makes it a little bit lighter. And I suggest to new clients at Pi to do their leg springs on one spring setting below, because I just think that it's much more achievable and
Mm,
just manageable that first time, because it is quite tough on that step up spike of the spring setting. And I think it can send you flying around with your legs. So, but for the most part, yeah, it's always arm springs, skip one, leg springs, wherever
yeah.
you go.
And so there's these little hooks on the vertical poles, and all these springs have a, what is that called?
Clip.
Clip that goes into the hooks. So when you do a class, you can use them and then unclip them, or move them and then unclip them. Um,
Some places will like store the springs differently. That's the only main thing. Like some
Mhm.
places, you know how now at Pi we hang the leg springs up at the top of
Yeah,
the tower. Some places will do that for their arm and leg springs. Just depends on like how much storage space you have in your studio as well, and
yeah.
what types of classes you're teaching more than anything.
Yeah, so if you're brand new to Pilates and you go in and you see a Cadillac or you see a tower and the leg springs and all the springs are already on the tower, that might be one way of doing it. Or as Leila said, which my studio in Ann Arbor does this, they hang everything up behind the tower and then as you go, you pull them off. Pi started doing that. So there's all different variations of storage with the
Hmm.
equipment, which is all
So
acceptable.
yeah, it just depends. I guess it's just use their preference. So the
The
tower
tower
is
might
in.
be my favorite thing.
I love a tower.
I
I
love
love a
the tower.
Cadillac. I love a tower. Um,
Yeah.
the reformer is like, sometimes I never think, oh, I want to do reformer, but I always love it when I'm doing it. Whenever I like I'm in a private session and I get taken over to reformer, I'm like, all right, down. Like, because it's also,
Yeah.
I think you can do a lot of the base, or I find it's a lot of basic repetitive in the best way to like really nail down getting all those like more advanced stuff. So sometimes I I always forget how much I love the reformer up until I'm on it. But whenever I'm
Yeah.
taken over to the Cadillac, I'm like, all right, what wild thing are you going to try to teach me today?
And the
And what
reformer
am I
is
going to
very supportive, and also the order of the reformer, from a teaching perspective, the order of the reformer is consistent. You can
do?
pull things out and there's modifications and things, but the order is the same every time. So I think it just depends kind of what you're into, but you could go to a tower class and have literally no idea what the same
That's true,
principles,
actually.
obviously, but
Yeah.
there's a different sort of vibe to it, I think.
Mhm. Like as a client, you have a more consistent, and or like what you're getting into by signing up for a reformer class for the most part at a classical studio, whereas for a tower, because even I, just depending on my mood, mine change quite often or quite frequently, and then instructor to instructor, everyone has their sort of own style. With
Yeah.
tower, which is a nice sort of sort of comment to make, actually. That's very true.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, those
Should we
are your
do
two main
those are your two main.
apparatus. Hmm.
And then the other one that I love that I'm just thinking
Go
of,
for
I
it.
know it is arranged differently now, but I'm spatially thinking about the studio, the ladder barrel.
Oh, yes.
I love the ladder barrel because Sophia
Hmm.
basically solved my back pain with the
Oh,
ladder barrel, doing back
fair.
bends over it. It's the best.
As the name suggests, the ladder barrel is a ladder connected to a barrel, which I think Max was saying in a workshop that it was literally like a barrel. It's the original measurements come from like an actual barrel that was cut in half. It was like a beer barrel that was like sawed and then was
See
used.
that?
And
Because it
that is
is
like
pretty
the
big.
arch of the barrel.
It's a pretty big, sturdy barrel.
Hmm. Uh,
Very cool piece of, and you can do all kinds of stuff that you can do on the box. Maybe we should say that about the reformer. Going back to the reformer, there are two pieces of equipment that get used with the reformer. There's a box and there is a bar.
mhm.
And the box can either be long ways, like hot dog style, or 90 degrees from that. short ways across the perpendicular to the bed. And then there's
You're
also
really
a
coming
bar.
out with all these math terms. I'm loving it. The math
So much
gals.
math and Pilates. And
Yeah.
you can do a lot of those similar things on the ladder barrel. So sometimes this happened to me before I actually was aware that it was a thing that clients knew they could do. Is I was teaching a reformer class and we went to do short box, and this client just walked herself over to the ladder barrel and started doing it over there. I was like, oh, fair
Oh,
enough. Okay. You like doing it over there. Sounds good. So some crossover. There's crossover in all of
mhm.
them, but um
Yeah, the short box
yeah,
is quite nice. You can also do a like a ballet series and ending on the ladder barrel, which is one I
good
often take my clients
stretching.
to. It's a nice stretch, yeah, for the hamstrings, the
Yeah.
legs. You
Yeah.
can do, like you were saying, back bends and like reverse stretches over that barrel, which are quite nice. A nice move that you can do and this is what shows you what this episode will hopefully highlight is how much of a system everything is. You do exercises across the apparatus, and the feedback you get from different apparatus feeds each other and feeds um, your body basically almost, and just gives you that different feedback. Um,
Yeah.
a nice one is, training horseback on the ladder barrel before you do it on the reformer because you get that support of the shape of the barrel and the lift that you can then take across. So it is finding a classical studio or a place where you can use the different equipment is great. And this is why, you know, a lot of us believe in this classical world as a system because of these exact reasons and how much it all supports each one another.
Connect. And it's cool because this happened to me when I did the full comp weekends. On the final weekend, we were going over like the advanced mat, and I think we were doing like crab or something. And I volunteered to be the body because I was kind of like, this is a weird exercise. I don't like totally
Hmm.
get it. I feel like I'm never in the right position. Let me be the body. And then I did it and it felt so different and much better. And it was just much better form. And Holly said to me, this is a great example of you haven't been doing crab every day, but you've been in here doing other Pilates. And that's the cool thing. If there's an exercise that you're struggling with and you're like, I'm not strong enough for this, I'm not flexible enough for this, or like, I just don't have the understanding kinesthetically of how to do this exercise. If you go and do the rest of the system to the best of your ability, you will eventually be able to do that exercise without.
Yeah, I was literally just thinking about this the other evening because I've been really building up my teaser now, just like on the long box, but we had been skipping,
Mm-hmm.
or I'd been just really trying to, because you can do an exercise and then you can do it well. And I think there's like, you can just move from the joints and then there's like really finding that connection and that lift. But I haven't been doing it on the reformer for quite a while. Just as we've been like working on it, not even just doing the teaser on different apparatus in privates, but just different exercises and strengthening that seat connection or whatever it may be. And we started to now bring it back into when I do it on the reformer. And like
Mm-hmm.
you're saying, I have so much more lift and connection. And it came from doing different exercises across the system and finding those connections and strength points rather
Yeah.
than just doing the same thing. Because a lot of the time, doing the same exercise over and over is not going to get you where you want to be because unless you're correcting and working on those weaknesses, you're not going to actually necessarily improve.
Yeah.
Which is why it's a system.
The whole system designed to work together.
Yeah.
Okay, you pick the next one.
I was going to say, shall we do the duo of the chairs, the Wunda chair and the high chair? That's why I thought you were
Yeah.
going with it when you said that. So
No, I
yeah,
was
the
I
chairs.
was like doing a little swirl around the studio in my head. The high
Yeah.
chair is a really weird one in terms
Hmm.
of description,
Also
but
referred to as the
yeah,
electric chair,
electric
which
chair.
gives you a suggestion as to what it looks like.
Yeah, it literally think of a chair with a tall back
Hmm.
and very upright back
Yeah.
with handles on either side that you can
Hmm.
hold on to in a few different ways. But
And a
with a
pedal
pedal,
at the
how do
back.
we describe what a pedal is? I guess people know what a pedal means.
Yeah. I was gonna say you can also So the high chair, if you is basically, or the Wunda chair, I would say, is what Rose just explained, but you've chopped the top off. So you have
Mm.
uh the pedal, which is comes out of the side of the chair almost, and then just the top of the chair is that matte surface. And that is it. It's a very small little cube.
Yeah,
And you can actually, the chair was designed, you can flip it on its side and it can be used as an actual chair in your
yeah.
house.
And
So
a
you can
story that
throw
we
mat
were told
that.
in my teacher training was um, that the idea behind it was, look, you can have this chair in your home and in your living room, and how cool. And then also you can flip it over and have and do Pilates with it and
Mm,
like really benefit your body. And for that
nice.
reason, I do think it's to me, like one of the most interesting ones. It's also the one that I'm probably the least like fluent with. I'm actually going
Hmm.
to a chair workshop in September because I just would like to be a bit more confident with it. And it is a really cool little thing.
Hmm.
I
No,
like
they
it a
are.
lot.
They're super tough because I mean, especially with the Wunda chair where you have such little surface area, that is almost what it's designed for, is to really challenge the body at all points or in almost all the exercises. You your full weight is supported onto your hands or feet or your hands and or feet, rather than having the chance to, lay down on the reformer bed like you would.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a super spicy one. It can really push your limits, but they're great. We love the chairs.
Yeah. Love the chairs. And the high chair is the high chair always throws me off how strong the pedal is. That pedal is a beast. If you go and do any kind of footwork, anything on that pedal, it is
Hmm.
tough ones. I feel like, again, if you're listening to this and you always go in and do reformer or even tower, like maybe try to just get yourself into a chair class or something. Because if you've
Hmm.
been consistently doing the other stuff, you will be strong enough to give it a try and see how it is, but it'll just be such a completely different experience. It'd be so
Yeah.
cool.
And I feel like I've been neglecting the high chair for my own personal practice. I so often will go over to the Wunda chair, especially because we have so many. And most studios will have more Wunda chairs, I think, just because of space. But there's so much fun stuff that you can do with the high chair, especially for me, it's really good where I have had that like hip instability or like pelvic instability. There's
Mhm.
a lot of fun stuff you can do with the high chair. I feel like it's often seen as a less fun one between the two. But
I feel like it's also very exposing when I go on the high chair and I'm doing anything where my like one where my feet are on the pedal basically, but really if I have one foot on the mat and one foot on the pedal, my hips are just
yeah.
so not squared. And I have kind of been neglecting the chair for that reason because every time I just get so frustrated that I can't keep my hips square, but I just have to keep doing it. And there's no, to Layla's point earlier, there's nothing around you to hold on to or to get extra supports from. It's just you, yourself, and you. So,
Hmm.
very highlighting of any unevenness that you might have.
Yes.
Yeah. Um, that's kind of like the big ones. Are
Oh,
we missing?
there's one last one, the guillotine,
Oh yeah.
which I can't
So
actually talk to
cool.
that much because I have yet to be go on the guillotine. I've been meaning to book a private with someone at Pi because we didn't have one at Equinox, so I was never able to
Book
use
one with
a
Max.
guillotine.
That's the
Yes,
only
that's
time
who
I've
I,
ever used it is with
yeah.
Max.
Okay, that's what's been recommended. And I've told Max, I was like, I really want to just book an hour with you. Can we just go on the guillotine? Like I've never experienced it. So I just need to
I
find and work that
don't,
into my
yeah.
schedule.
I feel like I don't like maybe take this definition with a grain of salt because I feel like I don't really know it well enough to speak on it at all. I've only been on it that one time and I've watched Max on it a lot, but it's talk about being kind of exposed and open. There's basically two bars, one of which can be, or maybe both. but I think one of which can be shifted around to adjust for height purposes. And you can, there's 3D space on either side of those bars, so you can really fluidly move. So there's a lot of kind of like momentum based exercises from what I've observed that could be not entire like I'm sure there's uses to it that I don't understand, but it's a very it's cool because if you were in the studio and you weren't looking for it, you probably wouldn't really notice it.
No, it does kind of blend into our space.
It
And
sort
it
of
does look,
blends in.
as the name
Yeah.
would suggest, it does look kind of like a guillotine, like just like a ball
Yeah, it does.
with like spring attachments to it. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, those are sort of, I would say those are almost the accessory equipments in terms of, and what a lot of teacher trainings will teach you is that the main chunk of your session or your privates will always be either on the mat, so either Tower, Cadillac, or the mat, or on a reformer, and that is where you do your main part, 50 to 60% of your session, because that is what allows you to flow through the body and see what that body needs. And then you would take them from the reformer or the mat and do accessory movements. So you would normally use a chair, elements of the Cadillac, or I guess maybe a guillotine, a ladder barrel for those almost fine tuned things that you wanted to work on. You can, of course, do a whole session on a chair, a whole session on the guillotine or the Cadillac, whatever. But with a lot of class formats or private formats, that is what you are guided to do during a teacher training.
Yeah. Yeah. Accessory equipment is a good term because there's tons of those. We're going to go through all of I feel like there's so many more little ones to go through. The toe
Mm-hmm.
corrector,
Mm-hmm.
the barrels.
Breathalyzer.
Yeah. The
Should we do
barrels
barrels
are
first?
kind of a, yeah, yes. So there's a small barrel and a spine corrector,
Mm-hmm.
which kind of from the side looks like a cartoon of a whale a bit,
It does. Yeah.
like it's round with a tail.
Mm-hmm.
And then the small barrel is just the pump.
Yep.
Those go on the mat. Love those as well. Those are great.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
What else? There is also the neck stretcher, which
Oh
is
yeah.
uh, it's a strap that can be put basically around the forehead, and then it ties to a spring, and that spring gets attached to the Cadillac. Or I think I've seen it can also be done with the guillotine, and then there is some cool spinal work that you can do with that. Um, the toe corrector, like you mentioned,
Yeah.
which gets put onto your big toes, and is
Hmm.
so two straps, and then there's a spring that connects between the two. Um, I am pulling up. Oh, we missed another big one.
Oh
The
wait,
pedal pull.
the pedipole. Yes. Pedipole is cool. I did a workshop on the pedipole and it is like a pretty cool one. Another one that kind of blends into the background. It's a
Mm-hmm.
very tall, there's a wooden square stand, and
Mm-hmm.
then there's a tall wooden or no metal something pole coming off the back with
Mm-hmm.
two handle springs coming off of
Mm-hmm.
either end. There's like a T at the top of the pole, and the springs come off of that.
I never teach people on the pedal pull, but I actually think I have a client who would be quite nice on it. It's really nice to really press in and find lift in the spine. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I don't think you would spend an hour on the pedal pull necessarily.
Yeah.
There is also um, we said the breathalyzer, which
Yes.
is like the straw that is connected to like a pinwheel almost. How would you describe it?
Yeah, I think pinwheel is a good way to
Yeah.
describe it. And you literally you hold it. It's small and handheld, and when you blow air, it spins the
Hmm.
pinwheel. I guess pinwheel. Yeah, is a
Yeah.
good descriptor.
And that's because breath is obviously one of the major focuses in Pilates. So it's a way to train your breath.
Yeah. What else is
And
on
then
the
I think
list? I'm curious.
the last one, which is actually one of my absolute favorites, the foot corrector. I don't know if you've used it much.
Yes, I haven't used it,
Uh,
but I have seen it. So why don't you talk on it a bit?
it is like so it's small, it's about the size of a foot, as you can imagine, and it's like a metal floor, and then it's on top of it, there is almost like a lever. There's like a spring and then a sheet of metal above it, and it's in like an arched shape. And the idea is there's quite a lot you can do with it, but you have one and you can be guided through it, and you have your foot almost resting over that arch, and you can press into it, and it's really nice to release fascia and tension in your foot. But also
Mhm.
just I find every time I've done 5, 10 minutes on it, I leave and the arch of my foot is so lifted and I feel so much lighter. And it's been great as I've been doing more running. We've been incorporating it into my sessions with Laura, and it just
Nice.
puts a spring in my step. Um,
That's awesome.
oh my God, we have another one that we've forgotten about. The baby chair, another
The
favorite
baby
of mine.
chair. The baby chair. Baby chair is very cute. Baby chair is an accurate description of it. You
Hmm.
are, and it kind of is just a chair, not just a chair, but we were saying how the Wunda chair is like, it can be flipped over and then it's like a chair. The baby chair, as it is set up, people do often sit in those chairs. Like I would do this at work with my laptop and do sort of things with
Hmm.
it. And there's two arm springs attached to it
Yeah.
as well.
It'll sort of come from the back so you can be sat and just do a lot of nice work. Whenever I had stuff going on with my spine, I would be taken over to the baby chair. And it's where a lot of people go whenever they're sort of rehabbing stuff in the back. I think some people call it like the armchair as well. Um,
Mhm.
but a lot of people, I think, refer to it as a baby chair.
I like the name baby chair. It's sweet because you have the high chair, which is like big and tall, and then the
Yeah.
little baby chairs next to it. Um,
And the baby chairs, the spring like you're saying, so the high chair has a very intense spring. The baby chairs is quite gentle and nice. So it allows you to really get into the stretch. Um,
yeah.
there is also, I don't know if this counts as an actual equipment, but a lot of studios would have like a metal, like a wooden bar that might have like a sandbag
Weight.
connected to it, and they
Yeah.
will do like the wrist strengthening exercise.
I learned in Salt Lake when I was doing the photo shoot for the new studio I'm going to be in, a few so everyone there is like really outdoorsy, and a few people in the studio in particular climb a lot, which I'm not a rock climber, so I don't know, but apparently tons of tension in your forearms and
Oh,
just I mean, your whole arm in general. And they were all like raving about that. They were
okay.
saying that you roll it down or roll it up, and then it feels like so much tension, like you're all twisted up, and then you release it, and it like totally relaxes out
Ooh.
your arms, and then it's good for like tennis elbow and things like that. So I've never actually tried it, but I'm curious to. Apparently, that is a big thing that climbers who come into the studio use. So
We've got one at Pi because I've picked it up every once in a while when I would
yes,
go.
I never see it really get used, but maybe
Luke
maybe we'll
uses it
take
a
it
lot,
up.
so I've always seen him pick it up and do it.
Oh,
And then it made me just like want
Luke
to
and
pick it up.
Max are the ones who like have the head thing, the head stretcher, the neck stretcher on, and they're like,
Hmm.
if you didn't know what was going
Yeah,
on, you'd be like, what is happening here?
yeah. What
Um,
is this place? What have I signed up for?
yeah. Anything else? Is that the list?
That was the list. I'm not sure if you can think of anything else.
No, I mean, there's little, there's like the airplane board and kind of like
Hmm.
little accessories. Like there's the magic circle.
Oh yeah, the magic circle,
That's a very important one. That one's pretty
a
self-explanatory. You've
ball,
probably seen versions of it. The ball. Um,
hand
yeah,
weights sometimes used.
hand weights sometimes used, especially to train something that might. usually use straps. Like sometimes people will train backstroke swimming with
Hmm.
weights or something just to get the choreography right.
Yeah.
Um, there's tons of
Oh,
little,
there are
uh,
the almost like the calisthenic like push-up bars or handles that
mhm,
are
mhm,
sometimes used. I think very rarely used,
yeah,
or maybe people use in their personal practice, which is are almost like these handles that are elevated off the floor. And if you search, they're very similar to like what you might use in a
yeah.
calisthenics workout.
And there's also just all kinds of like uh, little like pillows and towels and things to
Hmm.
help build support. So you might not have a client who can lay all the way down or, go entirely over a barrel. So they need to have something more under their neck or the base of their head. So I think one thing that's nice about Pilates is that there's this very clear kind of framework of things, but also I've seen teachers on the Cadillac with a client like basically constructing not a new apparatus, but they're like building a structure on top of a barrel so that a client
Yeah,
who is really elderly or has some kind of specific weakness can still use that space. So,
I can think of a few clients we've had to do that for,
yes,
and I've had to do that for.
yes.
You definitely have to get creative and rack the brain. But yeah,
Hmm.
it also goes to show you that you truly can. Pilates is for everybody, and it can all.
Everyone.
Whilst some of the apparatus, you can change the apparatus basically without changing it, but you can
Yeah,
adjust.
yeah. And there are a few things like with reformers, they are different, they come in different lengths. And
Hmm.
not anything like if you walked in, you'd be like, whoa, that one is so short. But sometimes you might direct a shorter client over to the one that's a few inches shorter
Hmm.
just because it can make a difference.
You can also
Um,
gear out on a reformer, so you can make change where the springs start or end, so that it
mhm,
changes that again based off their height. Um,
mhm.
that's the main things, I
Yeah,
guess.
those are the main ones. There might be other little things that we're missing, but we can always tack them on to the next
Hmm.
episode.
These are the main things that you would encounter in a classical studio, at the very least.
Yes, definitely. Definitely. Cool.
And hopefully, we'll go on to discover more in oral history. So, if you're more interested in,
Yeah.
the classical equipment, um, and that
Origins
whole
and
archival world, come on over. Little plug to Oral Histories, which is something that's going to come out soon through Honeycomb. So, stay
yeah,
tuned.
stay tuned. And that might be it for episode 11.
Yeah, I've got to head out soon,
Yay.
so that would be
Yeah.
us.